Hello and welcome to the first installment of the 2013 Varsity Zone Football blog. I'm Sam McDowell here with Todd Palmer. We're going to get it started with the Kansas side this year because they're in opening week. So Todd, go ahead and tell us about your game of the week.
I think the game of the week easily has to be Olathe East at Olathe North. This is an old-time, old-fashioned kind of rivalry. Jeff Myers and Gene Weir have been at it for years. Obviously, Gene had left for Richland, Texas for a while, but you've got two of the best teams in the Sunflower League. They're going to be going at it Friday at 7 o'clock at the Olathe District Activity Center. I expect a big-time defensive struggle in this one. Olathe East returned 7 starters off one of the best defenses in the Sunflower League last year. Olathe North has probably the best linebacking core in the city, led by Jimmy Swain, who had been at Olathe North as a sophomore, transferred to Lee Summit, and is now back. He's committed to TCU. And I think both these teams, offense is a little bit of a question mark early in the season, although Olathe North does have Venus Triplet at running back and a great young quarterback in Cole Murphy. But I think defenses are going to dominate the day. It's going to be one of those old-fashioned 13-6, 14-13 affairs that they used to play in the late 90s and early part of this last decade. So what's the game of the week over on the Missouri side, Sam?
Well, pretty similar storylines to what you mentioned. I'm going to go with Fort Osage at Blue Springs South. Also, two very good defenses. Fort Osage won that game last year 6-0, and if you remember, this is the week that was the downpour at this time last year. So they didn't really get to play the style of football they wanted to play. But Fort Osage last week, Ezra Vauefi in the opener rushed for over 300 yards and the first time where they really featured him as a workhorse running back. So I'm eager to see what he can do against a defense like Blue Springs South. Let's kick it back over to you. Let's pick out some more storylines to watch in the opening week here.
Aside from Olathe East and Olathe North, I really like the Gardner-Edgerton at Blue Valley matchup. You got Trayvon Wrench, who's committed to Kansas. He's coming off back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons. 3 of the 5 running backs in the history of Kansas football that rushed for over 3,000 yards in a year played for Marvin Diener back when he was at Salina Central. It's possible. I know they would love to see Trayvon become the 6th running back in state history to go for 3,000 yards. He got off to a really slow start last year, hampered by a little bit of turf toe. So I look for them to try to establish him early, get him off to a much faster start this year. Gardner-Edgerton, the one thing they really learned last year in their first year in 6A was seeding is very important. You have to take care of business during the EKL regular season because last year they ended up being 6-3 going into the playoffs and drew the number 3 seed and had to hit Lawrence as a result. They'd like to get that 1 seed or at least the 2 seed, give themselves a little bit easier path in the playoffs this time around. Blue Valley, of course, is huge. They're always good. They got A.J. Harris and some other big players on that offensive line, and they're going to be a tough matchup. Should be a really great EKL, a really great litmus test for both those teams early in the EKL season. You've also got Shawnee Mission West coming back off their state championship. They play Shawnee Mission South. Shawnee Mission South is a pretty sneaky good team this year, I think. They've got 4 guys on that offensive line who have started since their sophomore year. They're now seniors, so they're going to have one of the better lines in the league. Shawnee Mission West, of course, has Austin Chambers and also has one of the best lines in the league, but that's an interesting matchup. And then you got a lot of new head coaches. Don Simmons at Shawnee Mission North, which was winless last year. They draw Lawrence Free State, who's one of the top teams in the state. That's a really tough opener for Don Simmons. Shawnee Mission East now has Dustin Delaney coming over from Emporia. Former Olathe South coach Mark Littrell's back at Leavenworth. Those 2 teams meet at Leavenworth, so who knows what to expect in that game. Shawnee Mission Northwest plays at Olathe Northwest as well. Olathe Northwest, of course, hired Chip Sherman from Shawnee Mission East, and this will be his debut with the Ravens. So lots of good storylines on the Kansas side. Any other things worth mentioning over on the Missouri side?
Well, you know what caught my eye there was you mentioned Trayvon Wrench, and I got the pleasure of watching him last year. Very good running back. The conference on the Missouri side that features a lot of good running backs is that Suburban Gold Conference, and we've got a great Suburban Gold Conference matchup right off the bat here with Liberty traveling to Ray Peck. Ray Peck has Steve Brown, who ran for 22 touchdowns last year, and Liberty, you saw him last week, Todd. Very impressive team. I kind of picked them as a surprise team this year, but I think they were even better than I thought they were going to be. So we got Liberty, Ray Peck, and a big matchup there. Just some other games to watch that I'm going to throw at you. Bentonville comes into Rockhurst after Rockhurst lost to East St. Louis last week. I think that's a big game for the Hawkless to try and get back on track and get an early win for a young team. Park Hill at Lee Summit West, not a matchup I would have picked out before the year, but Park Hill was impressive last week, so I'm eager to see what they can do against a powerhouse like Lee Summit West, who I have as the #1 team in the state. We've got Ray South at Tonka, 2 teams that win at Tonka, 2 teams that were disappointing last week. So those are two teams that are trying to avoid an 0-2 start there. And then I like Maryville at St. Pius because St. Pius finished off last year very well. I'm eager to see what they can do early in the season against a great team like Maryville. So that'll do it for the week 1 of our Varsity Zone football blog. Be sure to check out our new Varsity Zone blog online at kansascity.com and click on the high schools page.